On the banks of the River Clyde in Scotland, one of the most iconic ocean liners in history began to take form. The RMS Queen Mary was constructed at the John Brown and Company shipyard in Clydebank, Scotland, starting in December of 1930. Despite economic challenges during the Great Depression, work continued, and in September 1934, the Queen Mary was launched with great fanfare by Queen Mary herself. She would go on to serve as a luxurious transatlantic liner and a wartime troop ship, becoming a legend in maritime history. During World War II, the RMS Queen Mary was transformed from a luxury ocean liner into a troop ship. Her immense size and speed made her an invaluable asset for transporting large numbers of soldiers across the Atlantic. She could carry up to 16,000 troops at once, earning the nickname the Grey Ghost for her stealthy grey camouflage. The ship made numerous high-speed crossings, avoiding enemy submarines and attacks. She was also used to transport war supplies and personnel, and despite her peaceful pre-war fame, she played a crucial role in the Allied war effort. After the war, the Queen Mary was restored to her luxurious role, though she was forever marked by her wartime service. On October 31st, 1967, the RMS Queen Mary embarked on her final voyage from Southampton to Long Beach, California. After over 30 years of service, including her heroic wartime role, the great ocean liner was retired. She sailed under a calm sea, carrying her final passengers with a sense of a bittersweet farewell. Arriving in Long Beach on December 9, 1967, the Queen Mary was officially decommissioned and transformed into a hotel and museum, marking the end of an era for one of the world's most iconic ships. The RMS Queen Mary is reportedly one of the most haunted ships in existence. So tonight, on this Halloween night, I'm going to go into 5 of the creepiest stories I could find. So make sure you grab your popcorn and settle down for a good scare. Among the many ghost stories surrounding the RMS Queen Mary, one of the most chilling is the tale of the crew member who met a tragic end near door 13. Though the exact details remain shrouded in mystery, the legend has persisted for decades, and it's a haunting story that still captures the imagination of those who visit the ship today. During the Queen Mary's service as a troop ship in World War II, the ship was constantly buzzing with activity. Her massive size and speed made her a critical part of the war effort, ferrying thousands of soldiers across the Atlantic. But the hectic pace, combined with the dark days of the war, also created an environment rife with accidents and tragedies. It is said that one night, near door 13, a crew member tragically lost his life in a freak accident. The details are murky, but according to the legend, the man was working in a narrow passageway near the door when a sudden and unexpected mechanical malfunction occurred. Some versions of the story suggest that he was caught in a door mechanism, while others claim he was involved in an accidental fall. Regardless of the specifics, the result was the same. The crew member perished, alone in the dark, near a door that would come to haunt the ship's legacy. It wasn't long after the incident that strange things began to happen around door 13. Crew members reported feeling an unnatural coldness, as if the air around the door had become frozen in time. Others heard footsteps, echoing through the narrow corridor, footsteps that seemed to appear out of nowhere, quick, hurried, and followed by an eerie silence. But the most unsettling reports came from those who claimed to have felt an unmistakable presence. Some said they could see a shadowy figure standing by the door, while others swore they saw a man in uniform, a sailor, lingering in the area, though no one ever saw his face. Those who claimed to have encountered him felt a deep sense of sorrow and dread. The story of the crew member's death near door 13 continues to captivate those who board the Queen Mary today. Some believe that his restless spirit still wanders the ship, trapped in the place where his life was cut short. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer in the paranormal, Door 13 remains one of the most haunted spots on the ship, a reminder of the tragedies and mysteries that still linger in the ship's long past. The Tall Man is one of the ship's most infamous spectres, believed to roam the first-class suites on air deck. Described as a shadowy figure standing over 6 feet tall, he is often seen in a long dark suit, wearing a fedora, with eyes that seem to pierce through the dim light. Guests and staff have reported his presence in unusual ways. Some have seen his reflection in mirrors, or glimpsed his shadow passing by the doors, only to find the hallway empty. In some encounters, he appears briefly, then vanishes before anyone can get a closer look. One visitor described hearing heavy, deliberate footsteps late at night. Each step was slow and measured. When they investigated, the footsteps abruptly stopped, and the air turned icy cold. It was as if the tall man was standing just beyond the shadows, watching. Some speculate he could be a former crew member or a wealthy passenger who passed away on board. Others think he may be connected to the ship's tragic past during World War II. Whatever his origins, the tall man's presence is deeply unsettling. Guests have reported chills and a feeling of being watched, as if the spirit refuses to leave the luxurious quarters he once called home. The Queen Mary may be retired, but with spirits like the tall man still roaming her halls, she's anything but at rest. George was a young sailor in the 1940s, dedicated to his work in the ship's mighty engine room. But during one fateful voyage, George met a tragic end, a terrible accident that took his life right where he worked, and since then, he's never left. Some say George is trapped, unable to let go of the duties he once had, but those who have encountered him know one thing for sure: George isn't a cheerful ghost. They call him Grumpy George for a reason. He's known to roam the hallways with a scowl, letting out frustrated sighs as he watches over his ship. Rumour has it he's not too keen on visitors. Passengers and crew alike have reported strange encounters, whispers in the dark, and a sudden chill, or even the sound of footsteps behind them when no one is there. Some brave souls say that if you whistle, you might just get a response from Grumpy George himself. But be careful, George doesn't like being disturbed. Those who try to snap a picture of him often find their cameras malfunctioning, or worse, they feel a sudden icy touch on their shoulder. So if you ever find yourself on the Queen Mary and feel a sudden chill, or hear an annoyed sigh in the air, it might just be Grumpy George, keeping a watchful eye on the ship he's bound to forever. Nestled deep within the RMS Queen Mary lies one of its most haunted corners, the first-class swimming pool. In its heyday, this pool was a luxurious escape, a place where passengers relaxed and enjoyed the finer things, but now it's a hub of ghostly legends. The pool has long been abandoned, but some say it isn't empty. Perhaps the most famous spirit here is Jackie, a young girl who is said to have drowned in the pool during a voyage. Since then, her laughter can be heard echoing softly in the distance, though no child has played here in decades. Some visitors even claim they've seen her, dripping wet and clutching a teddy bear, calling out for her mother. But Jackie isn't alone. An elegant woman dressed in vintage 1930s swimsuit is often seen slowly gliding along the pool deck. Her expression is calm, almost serene, as if she's enjoying the memory of her last swim. She's earned the nickname, the lady in the swimsuit. Witnesses say they've caught glimpses of her reflection in the pool's surface, though the room itself remains empty. And then there are the lifeguards, who still seem to watch over the pool, even in the afterlife. Some visitors hear sharp, authoritative whistles cutting through the silence, or feel a pair of eyes watching them from the shadows. ready to keep the pool's visitors in line, even if those visitors aren't exactly living. But the most unsettling encounter of all might be the footsteps. Many visitors swear they've felt the cold, wet footprints appear just behind them, only to turn around and find no one there. And when the Queen Mary staff clean the pool deck each night, they often return to find strange, wet footprints leading from the pool to the changing rooms. Prints that appear only when no one else is around. Some say these spirits are bound to the pool, unable to leave. Others believe they stay out of choice, enchanted by the memories of long past laughter and luxury. But one thing is certain, the first-class pool on the Queen Mary is far from ordinary. So if you ever visit the Queen Mary, be sure to stop by the first-class pool, but don't be surprised if you leave with a story of your own. On board the historic RMS Queen Mary, one room stands out as the most haunted of all, room B340. A room so haunted, it was closed off for decades, leaving only stories and eerie encounters to haunt those who dared to venture near. In the 1940s, during one of the ship's voyages, a man staying in this very room suffered a violent and tragic end. His death, under mysterious circumstances, left an imprint on the room, and soon, unsettling things began to happen. Passengers who stayed in the room B340 reported strange, disturbing events: sheets torn from the bed, lights flickering on and off at odd hours, and dark, ghostly figures looming at the end of the bed. Many guests even claimed to wake up feeling as though they were being held down by an unseen force. Some believe the spirit of that troubled man still resides here, restless and angry, forever trapped. But his isn't the only presence that's been reported. Room B340 is said to be a gateway, a place where the veil between worlds is dangerously thin. Over the years, guests complained of hearing voices, angry voices, arguing in an unknown language, or of seeing spectral figures pacing the room at night. Many found themselves feeling intensely cold, even though the room was kept warm. In fact, the activity in B340 became so notorious that the room was eventually closed off. But that didn't stop the spirits. Guests staying in nearby rooms reported strange happenings too. Items moving on their own, the sound of violent knocking on the walls, and the feeling of being watched. Staff members too had their encounters. One night, a steward cleaning the room claimed to see a shadowy figure standing by the bed. The figure turned to him and vanished, leaving behind only the sound of heavy, rattling breaths. For decades, B340 was sealed off, accessible only by private ghost tours, but in recent years the room was reopened, for those brave enough to stay overnight. It's been outfitted with a Ouija board, tarot cards, and even a crystal ball, tools for guests who dare to make contact with whatever or whoever still lurks here. But be warned, many who enter room B340 report strange experiences that linger long after they've left. Guests often say they feel a dark presence hovering, as if something followed them home. Cold chills, nightmares, and shadowy figures appearing in mirrors have all been reported, days, even weeks after their stay. So if you ever find yourself on the Queen Mary and you're tempted to spend a night in room B340, prepare for the unexpected. Many have entered, but not all leave the same, and some say the spirits are only waiting for the next visitor to help them find peace, or to join them in their eternal rest. So, that brings us to the end of our journey aboard the ghostly Queen Mary. I hope you've enjoyed this trip into the shadowy depths of one of the world's most haunted ships, from the eerie footsteps echoing through the hallways to the mysterious splashes in the pool. It seems this grand ocean liner may still have a few spirits who never quite checked out. As we leave these tales behind, remember that next time you find yourself by the water or near an old creaking ship, take a moment to listen. You never know who or what might be trying to make contact. Thanks for joining me on this Halloween night, and until next time, sleep tight.